He needs to pass. Oh, he's tapped
Twitch
out.
taps. Jack Hermansson with another first-round finish.
Hello, I'm John Gooden and this is EuroWatch, where I give you the lowdown on some European fighters competing this weekend. At Fight Night Thompson vs Holland, we have a decent choice of battlers from the region, including a very important middleweight showdown. Jack the Joker Hermansson returns to Orlando, where his UFC career really took off. Back in April 2019, he stepped in for Yoel Romero on late notice to face Jacare Souza and beat the former Strikeforce middleweight champion. And late notice changes have become somewhat of a common theme for Hermansson ever since, proving once again why he is a bona fide modern-day Viking warrior. In 2020, he was booked to fight former middleweight champ Chris Weidman, but ended up fighting former title challenger Kelvin Gastelum. He was subsequently booked to face Darren Till, only for that pairing to be shelved in favour of Kevin Holland, which also got cancelled, leaving Hermansson to battle Marvin Vettori on 7 days' notice. Next up was a showdown with rising Edmund Sharbazian, and that fight was delayed by a week. A rare booking held firm against Sean Strickland, but it was back to rescheduling again after another attempt at fighting Darren Till fell through, resulting in a late notice fight with Chris Curtis. And that brings us to this weekend, where Hermansson was all set to face perennial contender Derek Brunson, only to learn a week ago that he was out and he'll be facing rising prospect Roman Dolidze. When I asked Hermansson about this, he simply responded, "If you're healthy, then fight, as you never know what's around the corner." And I really respect this. Since that significant career fight against Jacare, this will be his 7th fight, but his 12th opponent, showing how Hermansson is always well prepared, well conditioned, and doesn't play it safe. As is often said, if you want to be the champion, then you must face all comers, and Hermansson embodies that. Oh, and remember the Tullis latest fight where Hermansson had a dislocated rib but still forced a TKO victory? He has an unshakable will, and his opponents will know that when they step into the octagon with him. It is undoubtedly a hard night at the office when the Nordic man is standing opposite. My friend Spencer Kite of UFC.com recently described Hermansson as a certified truth machine in the middleweight division, which is bang on. It's hard to be critical of an athlete like Hermansson, but if we are to be overly harsh, then consistent results is where he is left wanting these days. But with a win this weekend, he will build on the back of a very disciplined showing against Chris Curtis in London this summer. And what to expect style-wise from Hermansson? I really don't know. I was recently in Oslo watching him as he was training for a Wrestle Heavy camp alongside his usual Norwegian colleagues and also Octagon MMA champ Patrick Kinzel. Going into the Curtis fight, most thought that he would not stand with the action man, but that's exactly what he did, and he won, pretty convincingly. There is no doubt in my mind that Hermansson has one of the most tricky games to prepare for, as his striking has an unpredictable rhythm, but he is so well conditioned that he keeps a tempo that earns really good credit on the judges' scorecards. It is, however, his ground game where Hermansson really shines. His top game is nightmarish for opponents. He has heavy ground and pound, and he combines it with very high-level submission attacks, often asking opponents to pick their poison: a bludgeoning or suffocation. If he is successful this Saturday night, then his fellow top middleweight contenders should be offering Hermansson another debt of gratitude for staving off the rise of yet another rising star. But it's a tough ask once again as he squares off with Georgia's Roman Dolidze. If I paint Hermansson as a Viking warrior, then I have to describe the Georgian martial artist as a mountain warrior. These men have war in their bloodline, and the modern day bookmakers have this one pretty close despite Hermansson's resume. After developing a fascination with jiu-jitsu back in the Ukraine, Dolidze explored mixed martial arts, visiting Jackson Wink, aka, and eventually Extreme Couture, which is where he has settled. And an interesting note of relevance is that the Las Vegas team have collected 40 minutes of data from pitching their fighters against Hermansson after both Strickland and Chris Curtis both went to the judges with the Swede. The great Eric Nixick therefore has deep insight into how he will set up his fighter to tackle the Nordic challenge. And actually, Actually, it's a pretty exciting task right now as Dolidze keeps getting better and better. Following the media's suggestion that he was a pure grappler, the Georgian warrior answered back with 2 consecutive knockouts. Post-fight, Dolidze reinforced how he is simply looking to improve every aspect of his game, and whatever his approach, it is working beautifully, as he has stretched to 5-1 in the UFC. Grappling is, however, the foundation of Dolidze's game, and this fight teases a tantalizing display of high-level grappling. Dolidze competed as high as the ADCC Worlds in 2017, and this might be the pairing that brings out the best in his game both defensively and offensively. Dolidze has said that he wanted better names after his last fight with Phil Hawes, whilst others in his camp echoed the desire for a top 10 fighter. Well, his wish was granted. Will it be a case of careful what you wish for, or look at me now? We shall see.
And he also knows where he could possibly lose it.
He has mobilised Teemu Pekkanen with his first right hand. What a finish from the bone crusher.
Oh my goodness!
Always an exciting addition to a fights card. Mark Diakiese makes his 13th appearance this weekend, and he'll hope that that number is unlucky for his veteran opponent Michael Johnson. Diakiese comes into this fight a lot more settled. Since 2019, he felt that the pandemic really affected his fight preparation. He had some weight-cutting issues against Rafael Alves, but these days he has handed over his prep to UK legend Brad Pickett at GB Top Team, with the odd visit to All Stars for some hard rounds before his last camp. External factors had him questioning what kind of fighter he is, but after I recently sat down with Pickett, he reminded me that actually Diakiese developed out of a solid wrestling base, rather than a striker learning the grappling arts. He urged his new student to reconnect with that, and he has since produced positive results. We all know that Diakiese can produce the flash, but recently he had to consolidate results to right the ship. Back-to-back wins, however, might give Diakiese the freedom to express himself fully wherever the fight takes him, and you know, with Michael Johnson stood facing him, he will need to be able to battle absolutely everywhere. Johnson has been with the UFC for 12 years now, fighting the very best like Justin Gaethje, Nate Diaz, Khabib, not to mention his knockout win over Dustin Poirier. Results haven't been going his way of late, but he hasn't been giving his opponents so much of an inch. He'll be fighting close to home for this one, so the crowd will be electric, and with a stylish fighter like Diakiese, this could be a fight of the night candidate. Thank you for checking out EuroWatch. Don't forget, I'm here pretty much every event. Enjoy the fights this weekend, and I will see you again soon.